Hey, Tommy, did you know that I feel comfortable using legal jargon in everyday life? That's why I object that you, the listener, are not subscribed to Haven't Seen It on Apple or Spotify. You're not following us on Twitter or Instagram at Seen It Pod, and you haven't left us a 5-star review yet. Haven't Seen It with Tim Sestito and Tommy Tevenay. Hello, everybody. Welcome on in. Thank you all so much for listening to us today. We appreciate you being here with us. This is a podcast where at least one of us is watching a movie for the very first time. And today, this is Tommy's first time watching Legally Blonde. How are you, Tommy?
I'm good. I just watched a good movie about 2 hours ago. First time I've ever seen it. So yeah, had a good time. What about you?
I was a little saddened this week. We wanted to touch on quickly, just touching on the passing of legendary director Ivan Reitman. He directed Ghostbusters, Meatballs, The Great Draft Day with Kevin Costner.
Have you seen that one?
I have seen Draft Day. It's wonderful, but he leaves behind a really strong legacy and definitely influenced our sense of humor growing up with his movies, and it's sad to see him go.
It's very sad. I mean, you do kind of feel happy that as like a last month of his life, really, he got to experience the release of his son making Ghostbusters and kind of passing the torch to his son, despite what you might think about that movie. But Ivan Reitman was good. He made a lot of good movies. He produced a lot of good movies, like my personal favorite, Space Jam. So he was instrumental in a lot of things that we loved in our childhood. So R.I.P. and, sucks.
Kindergarten Cop. That's all I have to say. That's all I have to say, really, to
It's
cement
not
someone's legacy. But so today's movie was Legally Blonde. We just had Valentine's Day in our rearview mirror when we're recording this, and it felt appropriate to have a movie like this on the podcast. This is Legally Blonde.
I'm gonna make an amazing lawyer.
Welcome to Harvard. Beauty and brains.
I have a 4.0. Why?
There ought to be a law.
You got into Harvard Law?
What, like it's hard?
This Friday,
I object. Nice try.
America Goes Blonde.
Habeas corpus. What? Evidentiary support?
Come again?
Don't ask.
Now you're thinking like a lawyer.
No biggie.
Legally Blonde, rated PG-13, starts Friday at theaters everywhere.
So this is Legally Blonde. Reese Witherspoon's maybe her most iconic performance as Elle Woods. You have Luke Wilson as Emmett Richard, Jennifer Coolidge as Paulette, the hairdresser, Matthew Davis as Warner Huntington. And I haven't seen this movie in a while because I was the one who's seen it, but I saw it probably when I was like right when this came out, a couple of years after that, in that 7 to 10 range, where a lot of the humor that I found to be funny in it would have gone over my head, and I definitely wasn't able to appreciate it at that time. And at that time, you're a young kid. You're like, this is a girls' movie. I don't need to watch a girls' movie. But I think it's a pretty strong girls' movie. It kind of leans into the side of like, just because you're beautiful or anything like that doesn't mean that people should underestimate you or that you should doubt your own self-worth.
Yeah, this is definitely an ultimate, this is my first time seeing the movie, but it's the ultimate fuck the haters movie where basically you just go in and it's just like, you say I can't do this, well, watch me fucking try. So it's just that movie typing over and over again. I feel like this was something that played on like Comedy Central a lot in like the mid 2000s. But like, I felt like whenever this was on, I usually would flip the channel, which I regret now because I did like it. So spoiler for the review at the end.
Well, I mean, they would get the sense by the time you gave the review, Tommy, if you liked the movie or not.
Yeah,
they'd understand if you were going to give it a higher star rating or a lower star rating. Just Just letting you know.
Okay, Mr. Critic.
Yeah, that's what we do on this podcast. We're critical. Yeah, it's one of those movies where I don't always love the motivation, where the motivation is like, I'm in love with this guy and I'm following him because he broke up with me because I'm not X person. Like, I don't always love that as that motivation. I do like that they don't waste anybody's time. This is a nice, brisk 90-minute movie. Get you in and out. They have her, she's at Harvard 12, 15 minutes in the movie.
They get very quickly into the plot of it. And what I like is that like her motivations like really change throughout. Where in the beginning of the movie is just Reese Witherspoon's character gets broken up with by Warner because he's like, oh, you're not smart, essentially. Long story short. Like, I'm trying to be a politician here.
Yeah, not serious enough. He's from one of those, like, he's supposed to be a Kennedy or a Vanderbilt or one of those legacy families or whatever from the Northeast country clubs, and she's a West Coast girl from a wealthy family in Malibu or wherever. I think my low-key favorite character in the movie is the dad, because he's in two scenes.
Very briefly.
Very briefly, and he's like, hon, you're not serious, and he's just drinking a martini, and I'm like, oh, okay. And then at the end, during the graduation, they just cut to him randomly and he's just clapping and he just has a martini in his hand. I was like that's amazing, because I felt like the one thing that the movie has a very positive message, but it's also very tongue-in-cheek about the kind of movie that it's trying to be. And from what I understand, it's because the production wasn't like totally clear between the studio and like the team behind the movie, right?
Yeah. So briefly to touch on the dad's awesome. I love that line Harvard's full of ugly and boring people, and you're neither of those. But anyways, so yeah, when the studio first greenlit this movie, it was based off a book, based off an author who pretty much, she went to Stanford Law School, and she realized that she didn't fit in with anyone there because they're way too much serious than her, and like they thought too highly of themselves, uptight people. So, but anyways, when the studio first greenlit this project, they weren't sure that the vibe was going to be what it ended up being, which is like a feel-good women's empowerment movie, like girl power, like let's go. Yeah, they thought it was going to be more in the vein of like American Pie or like your raunchy teen comedy, where it's like essentially like wet t-shirts and girls getting naked. So
they thought it was going to be a boner flick.
Yeah, exactly. So if it was that type of flick, like we probably wouldn't be talking it to the extent we are today, because people would be like, oh, that was kind of just like one of those stupid movies like Sorority Boys, or I'm trying to think of like the dredge of like terrible teen adult comedies.
like the American Pie spinoffs that go straight to DVD and they're just like awful, but your 12-year-old, you watch them because they had boobs in them and you were like, I can get through the humor of this because there's boobs. Like that. That was those movies.
The selling point is the boobs when you're 13. But yeah. So like, they just didn't really have a lot on the movie. It essentially was just very like an adult raunchy comedy, and I don't really think that would fit for that, because I feel like that would kind of undermine Reese Witherspoon's character if you did it that way. Where the great thing about her character is that, like, even though she gets pranked, or even though she gets made fun of for being like a dumb blonde, she takes it in stride and she's just laughs it off. Or in that one scene where she gets told to go to a preppy party, or a party, and so it's a costume party, and she shows up in a Playboy bunny outfit. Instead of her just like crying and be like, oh, I can't believe you guys did this to me, she's like, okay, cool, whatever, I'm in a Playboy bunny outfit. All right, whatever, I'm still at this party. Fuck you guys.
It probably helps looking like Reese Witherspoon in that bunny costume. This is her young. I don't know exactly what age, but she got to be mid-20s around there, because like her first like big role was Election, right? And
so the problem with her was when this movie came out. So she came up a run of Pleasantville came out, and Pleasantville was a solid movie. Yeah,
that's
Pleasantville.
Right.
She was
with
like
Toby.
With Toby. She actually was for a while. She had Fear and everything like that. Marky Wahlberg, and then she was in Cruel Intentions and Election, where she played very innocent, or in the case of Election, uptight characters that like very much like type A, very studious, and just like not very much like laid back and carefree, which is why she had trouble getting cast originally in this movie. So A lot of people
Really, that's interesting.
yeah. No, essentially, the way Reese Witherspoon described it was the Hollywood studio thought out she was a shrew. So
Yeah,
just like, and it's the testament to Reese Witherspoon being such a good actress, because like you think of all the great actors we have, where if you got like all their characters in one room, how different would that party be? If it was someone like Seth Rogen, for example, they'd all just be the same guy, and they'll just be smoking pot in the corner or something like that.
and they'd all be going.
Yeah. So like, yeah, but Reese Witherspoon, to her credit, like all of her characters, I feel like are very much different. Like I could not see Reese's character in Election. I think it's Tracy Flick hanging out with Elle Woods from this movie. They would be polar opposites.
It's Elle Woods, Tommy, and yeah, I agree. But like, I think this character is uptight, but she's very loose, and the movie doesn't get in the way of that. And like we talked about it last week on whatever the movie we watched,
High Fidelity.
High Fidelity. A lot of movies, folks. A lot of movies. The screenplay kind of driving the pacing and the editing of the movie. Like, I think that's a big factor in this movie. I think it's a pretty sharply edited movie, because the movie goes, man. Like there's a lot of areas where they could have added more emotion in, more like romantic scenes between her and Emmett. Is this the first rom-com you've ever seen where the two people that get paired together don't kiss at all in the movie?
Yeah, no, it's very bizarre to think about, because they even mentioned like, oh yeah, they got married. Originally, the movie was supposed to end in that way, where Luke Wilson was going to kiss her outside of the courthouse when she wins in the case, but test audiences didn't like that, so they just changed it to like we're talking about last week, the romantic comedy coda, where basically they tell you what everything happens to the characters. I was so happy to find out that they did that in this movie.
Yeah, I texted you that, and you're like, dude, I haven't watched it yet. What the hell?
Spoilers.
Spoilers. I'm like, yeah, I spoiled everything, huh? But we
Yeah.
literally talked about that. And they do have the one joke in there where they're like, Warner graduated without honors. He currently doesn't have a job lined up.
So I do appreciate that for that. But I don't even know if this is like strictly a romantic comedy, because at the end of the day, it's more so about her finding herself and like learn to love herself than it is, her trying to win Luke Wilson or her ex back.
Yeah, well, I mean, the motivation is to win the ex back to launch the story. And
Yeah.
the movie is kind of like 3 parts. It's like, okay, I'm motivated to it's like a motivation, like I need to get this person back. And then she gets to Harvard day 1, and it's a fish out of water movie. Like for most of the second act, she's a complete fish out of water. She doesn't fit in with anybody there.
Mhm.
She becomes best friends with Paulette, Jennifer Coolidge, who's like the nail salon lady that's a high school dropout with zero confidence. That's the only person that'll talk to her there, where she went from being, I think she was Miss June in her college calendar, swimsuit
Yeah.
calendar,
And she was like the sorority president and everything, so like she was Mrs. Popular, Queen Bee.
yeah, she was the queen of the campus, and now nobody gives a shit. Like, I love the little scene where they're she gets to Harvard and they're doing the introductory circle, and everybody's like, I have an IQ of 187. I organized a march on Washington for the gay rights movement. I spent the summer in Africa helping impoverished students, and she like starts going off about like her like Tri Kappa Nu sorority thing, and then the third act is kind of like not a drama, but it's like a legal, it's just like a legal caper, I guess, because it's like kind of comedy, but they're very isolated parts of
Very, very zany. So of the 3 acts, I think my favorite act was the second act, because I think that was where the comedy came out the most in the whole movie.
I agree with you. I think the first act, I was actually, one of the things now that I'm like can kind of process what I like in movies and what I see. We touched upon it with Licorice
Now that you
Pizza.
have a podcast.
Now that I have a podcast, yeah, that's the bar, folks. It's very hard to do. They like the way the movie starts, like they're giving, like when she thinks she's going to get proposed to by Warner, and they give her like a letter of luck, and then the song like "It's a Perfect Day." That
Yeah.
song's been stuck in my head all day, man, all
Yeah.
day.
I love that song.
And no, but like the way the camera moves through the sorority house, like the camera is just moving everywhere. There's something going on. Like that house has 7 unique settings in it, and it doesn't take a break. And then, not that the camera works bad or like the direction's bad, but then it's very like what you'd expect from the movie, where I think the intro kind of stands out. And I find that a lot with these movies. Like they'll, during the opening credits, they'll let the camera roll, and then they're just like, oh, we don't need to do that anymore. And it's like,
They
why
essentially
not?
they blow their wad in the first opening scene. We're like, we're gonna make people think this is a different movie than it is, and it's like, psych. That being said, I mean, each act like being distinctive. I mean, I could have seen a movie that was just her being like, Miss Popular at college. That would have been funny. Like it's like a more that would have been, I guess, more of the American Pie take on this.
She tries to get into Harvard Law School and then goes to Boston College or Boston University, or your pick of your Boston schools, so she can be close to him, and then it becomes a boner comedy from there. There's a lot of different ways they did it, and I think they kind of nailed it, because this movie, well, it was, I remember it being wildly popular when we were growing up, and I'm looking at the box office, $18 million budget, $141 million grossing. It got a sequel. It has a third movie coming out 20 years later, which, listen, if you're a big Legally Blonde fan, I'm sorry to tell you, they're never good. I'm sorry. I'm gonna watch it. It's just it's been too long. But it even got a musical too, dude.
Yeah. Well, this is actually the second week in a row. We didn't cover this last week, but they made a musical of High Fidelity too. But this Legally Blonde one's actually more successful because you actually have heard of it on Broadway. There's been so many ads for it, I feel like, all the time. But yeah, no, Legally Blonde 3, I mean, only thing I know about is that it's written by Mindy Kaling. But it's like this movie didn't need a sequel.
That actually gives me a little bit of hope, to be honest. Mindy Kaling writing it.
That's a good part. I mean, I'm sure it'll be funny, but it's just like, the movie kind of ends in a way that wraps it up perfectly, where it doesn't really require a sequel whatsoever. It's not like you unless you wanted to make it like Legally Blonde, the TV show, which is just her like solving the case of the week or some bullshit.
Yeah,
that'd be awful.
No. Like the charm of this movie is just so charming, right? Like it just like infatuates you, and like it's really a credit to Reese Witherspoon. Like this is her vehicle. Like I'm actually kind of stunned that it wasn't built in conjunction with her in production, and that they would even consider another actress, because I can't even imagine.
So
here's actress.
It's crazy to think about, because the directors wanted it at first, but like I said, the studio wasn't convinced, because they thought she was just uptight, like Tracy Flick, like type A, you're not gonna make this work. So some of the people that are considered for the role were Charlize Theron, Gwyneth Paltrow. I thought she would have been maybe,
she could, I'm not crazy about Gwyneth Paltrow, but that's just
Alicia Silverstone, which would have just been her like basically playing the character from Clueless again.
Yeah. I wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, so I guess it's a good tangent to go off, but this a lot of people used to call this movie Clueless the college years.
Kind of is. I mean, they're similar characters, and the style is there, man. Like this is a pre 9/11 movie, July 13th, 2001 release date. So 2 months from when like the real tonal shift and the style shift, like that's the mark of like, we're in the 2000s now. Like we are no longer like carrying over from the 90s. Like the way her friends dress is so outrageous. I was just, my first thought was Clueless right there. As an inspiration, and it had to be an inspiration on this movie. So Alicia Silverstone would have been good, but when I think of how Reese Witherspoon's career kind of took off from here too, like I see this as like her true breakout moment. Like Election was pretty big. She was in a lot of other stuff, but this is the first one. It's like, okay, this is her movie. She's carrying it, and she can carry it. So you can give her anything.
Yeah, exactly. It wouldn't have worked if it was like they tried to do like Katherine Heigl, they tried to do Christina Applegate, Mila Jovovich, and then Jennifer Love Hewitt, and it's just like none of those actresses I feel like would have really made it, because like Mila Jovovich is always like the badass, like from the Resident Evil movies. Like, yeah, you couldn't imagine her being like bubbly, sweet Elle.
This movie would have never hit theaters if Mila Djokovic was cast as Elle Woods, or it would have been a boner
Yeah.
comedy. It would have gone
Yeah.
one or two ways.
Yeah.
But you said how like her character from Election and from Legally Blonde are different, and they are different. But I think she's an uptight character in this, and it's just her like her carefree nature and her like naivety, but trusting her instincts carries her. I think you get a really good sense of like the confidence she has. Like she just got dumped by her longtime boyfriend who she thought was going to give him a 6-carat rock, and this is the video that she submits to Harvard.
Oh, hi. My name is Elle Woods, and for my admissions essay, I'm going to tell all of you at Harvard why I'm going to make an amazing lawyer.
As president of my sorority, I'm skilled at commanding the attention of a room and discussing very important issues. It has come to my attention that the maintenance staff is switching our toilet paper from Charmin to generic. All those opposed to chafing, please say aye.
I'm able to recall hundreds of important details at the drop of a hat. Hey, Elle, do you know what happened on Days of Our Lives yesterday? Why, yes, Margot, I do. Once again, we join Hope in the search for her identity. As you know, she's been brainwashed by the evil Stefano. I feel comfortable using legal jargon in everyday life. I object. That's why you should vote for me, Elle Woods, future lawyer for the class of 2004.
She does have a 4.0 from CULA, and she got a 179 on her LSATs.
A fashion major?
Well, sir, we've never had one before, and aren't we always looking for diversity?
Her list of extracurricular activities is impressive.
She was in a Ricky Martin video.
Clearly, she's interested in music.
She also designed a line of faux fur panties for her sorority's charity project.
Uh-huh. She's a friend to the animals as well as a philanthropist.
Elle Woods. Welcome to Harvard.
That was, for me, that was like the big, that was the funniest part from the first act of the movie. I felt like, and I felt like the movie's, it's very tongue-in-cheek about what it is, because like the surrounding characters, like her two friends, like the Margot character, like they're as ditzy and as what you'd expect as they come, but she's the antithesis of those kind of people. She is highly motivated, and you feel it right away. Her parents told her like, oh no, you're not, you said it, Harvard's for ugly people, you don't need to go there. And I think there's one joke I want to pull that I think kind of really like solidifies it.
Oh my God. What are you doing? Reading about the LSATs? My cousin had that. Apparently you get a really bad rash on your... Oh. The LSATs are an exam. Girls, I'm going to Harvard. You mean like on vacay? Let's all go! Road trip! No, I'm going to Harvard Law School. Why? Elle, now, I know you're upset about all this, but can't you just take a Percocet?
Yeah,
I love that line.
It's great, like the contrast of like how pretty much like the only person that believes in Elle throughout the whole movie is Jennifer Coolidge, and I guess Luke Wilson, but for the most part people just like kind of just like, why are you doing this? Like they just like I said earlier in the pod, it's about just like silencing your haters right there, where even her own friends are like are the stereotypical ditzy blondes or ditzy sorority chicks, and they're just like, well, what are you doing here?
Yeah, that's a big part of it, and it's confidence in yourself, because if she's getting it from the lady that does her nails, that has no confidence in herself, right? Like that and Luke Wilson, who's barely in the movie, honestly. He's like in the movie like a bit more in the third act, but the first two acts he's in it like 2 or 3 times.
He has like very quick cameos where it's just like he runs into her and he's like, "Oh, hey, what's going on?" And then I'll be back in the third act.
Yeah, pretty much. And this is when he's at his peak, like Old School either just came out or is coming out.
That was about like 2 years before, 2 years after. I mean,
Yeah. So this was like, but this was like right in his like wheelhouse when he was like a real leading man in Hollywood.
when they're casting this role, they said like, "Why don't we go for a Luke Wilson type?" And they auditioned all these people, and they're like, "Why don't we actually just go for Luke Wilson himself?"
I'm just picturing the scene too. It's just like, all right, oh, thank you. All right, number 38, come in, and he does the lines, and then somebody's just like, "What? Have we even asked Luke Wilson yet to be in the movie?"
Yeah. It's just like, come on. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing wrong here? It's one of those things that must suck as an actor because that happens a lot in Hollywood where they want like the certain actor type, like, oh, Luke Wilson or the Owen Wilson or Seth Rogen type. And then those specific actors go into audition and somehow don't get the role that was the type that they're looking for.
Yeah, that must suck. I wouldn't know. I've never been cast in any Hollywood production. I'd imagine I would do okay out there. Maybe, probably not. I'd get eaten alive. Who am I kidding?
Yeah.
But
we both would.
But yeah, I will. There is just such a tongue-in-cheek element of everything about this movie, and the story's like pretty grounded too. Like the only scene that I was like, oh, I don't need this, was like the bend and snap scene, which feels very of the time that it would be in there. But I was like, oh, you could have just cut this. It was like,
oh no, I disagree completely. I love that scene. I thought that scene was like very in spirit of her character, of just like kind of like almost like a musical moment almost in the movie, and it played off well with the Jennifer Coolidge part where Jennifer Coolidge tried to do the bend and snap later and just like kick the guy in the face, wherever it was.
That was a good setup. I'll give it that. The UPS guy that she has the crush on, and then she hits him in the nose, and then the next time we see them at the trial and they're getting married or whatever, and I'm like, stretching it a little bit. Talking about
the mute cute.
Talking about stretching it, like the self-confidence of somebody to be like, I studied fashion for 4 years, but fuck it, I'm gonna ace the LSATs and I'm gonna get into Harvard, and I'm gonna figure out how to do it, and I'm gonna get the internship for the spot for the murder trial, because that's what the third act's about. There's a big murder trial from this famous guy, wealthy guy, and Brooke, who is played by Ali Larter, is the murder suspect. She was the younger wife, but she has her own like fitness empire, and luckily enough, she happened to be one of Elle Woods' sorority sisters, a couple years older, but they, sisterhood connected.
Yeah.
Right.
You don't go back on sisterhood.
I really don't have a problem with any of that stuff. I think that's all very good. And I don't actually really fault the movie for it, because this will work in the movie's favor. But and one really unrealistic thing was, oh yeah, my alibi is that I was getting a liposuction, and I'm going to lose all my credibility if I do that. It's like, well, if you go to jail for murder because you're not giving up your alibi, you're also going to lose your credibility. So it's kind of a lose-lose situation when you think about it. And then Elle being brought on as the main representation. Now the movie needs it, because then there's no actual like triumphant climax to go with it. But if we're just pulling our heads out of the clouds a little bit here, and I'm fine being in the clouds.
It's one of those things about like when watching movies, there's a whole section on the Wikipedia for this page about legal issues and stuff like that with the movie, where it's just like, would this make sense? And there's like a YouTuber that went on like something about how like in the end of the movie, spoiler, Elle ends up representing Ali Larter's character, Brooke. And even though she's only a first-year law student, and people are saying like, oh, like this movie's so inaccurate, this wouldn't happen in real life. It's like, all right, it's a fucking movie. We get it. Like some things aren't going to be realistic. She's probably, she wouldn't get a 179 out of 180 on the LSATs problem in real life. Like suspension of disbelief a little bit.
Oh, I mean, yeah, the movie suspends it lightly, because it's like LSAT. Okay, fine. And then they build to that suspension of disbelief, because I think she's in a little bit of disbelief that she's able to accomplish these things, and she just builds more confidence on really high base of self-confidence that she has in herself to begin with.
Mm.
And again, it's not like I'm like, oh, this breaks the movie. The movie needs it. The movie needs that moment to happen. But it's the one thing where I'm like, okay, like, lady, like, you going to jail for murder means that you're not going to make any more money because people don't buy exercise tapes from murderers. That's just a fun fact. And then the second
Are
one
you
is
sure
her-
about that? I mean, think about all the people. People still buy Phil Spector records.
That's, yeah, but music's different than like there's a million exercise tapes, and especially now.
If Richard Simmons went on like live TV and like fucking like killed someone, and then during the fucking video, do you think that people would still be like, "Oh, I'm gonna buy a Richard Simmons video"? I think so. I think
No.
someone would be like,
Well, I think the audience would switch completely. Like
yeah.
his audience of like divorced and single middle-aged women would switch drastically to like
Metalheads.
metalheads and guys that hate their lives in their 20s. Like his audience would change completely if he ever pulled that
It would
off.
end up on Reddit of like Live Leak or like Watch People Die or some shit. Or it's just like, can you believe Richard Simmons did this?
Wait, Tommy, do you believe the Richard Simmons conspiracy theory
What's the Richard Simmons conspiracy theory?
that he's like been kidnapped?
What?
You've never
You
heard
know.
this before? Okay,
No.
I gotta pull up. I'm pulling up a little more information on this because the theory is that because he's been out of the public eye for so long, and
As most people from the 80s are.
there was like a big Twitter thing that he just like, since he was in the public eye for 30 years, like putting out exercise tape, and then one day he just goes blonde. His last appearance was like beginning of 2013, and then he stopped showing up to like classes, and people at the time thought that like his butler or whoever his live at home help like had kidnapped him and was like holding him hostage. In like 2016, 2017, I swear to God, people thought this about Richard Simmons.
Have we heard anything from Richard Simmons since?
I think I'm looking. I don't know. Like he missed Joan Rivers' funeral, that's a big red flag. They were very close. He cut off contact from other people, and then somebody claimed that Richard Simmons was taking care of himself. His dog died, and now
like 5 years from.
Yeah, and here it is. Simmons' housekeeper has allegedly been keeping him prisoner in his own home. And this comes out after the National Enquirer claimed that he was transitioning to a woman.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, there's a whole section on Wikipedia now, Richard Simmons, of retreat from public life. Yeah, because I remember like 10 years ago he was in like a Geico commercial and shit. There's even a section, the LAPD detectives visited his home in March 2017 to do a welfare check.
I'm going deeper down the rabbit hole than I remember here. I'm like scrolling this article, just waiting for it to stop, and it won't. It just won't stop.
We just realized that Richard Simmons, this tangent we went on, is actually so fucking interesting. Where it's like, what?
Yeah. So like they're showing things of like the housekeeper is living in the house now, and that people believe that she's trying to inherit his wealth when he dies. Okay, let's see. I'm just scrolling down here to try to see.
In June 2018, he sued a Los Angeles private detective, claiming he had placed a tracking device over a year earlier on the only vehicle Simmons used for transportation. Oh my God.
Wild guy. Wild theory. Oh my God.
I'm very glad we just found out this tangent.
Yeah, I am too. And I'm sure the audience is as well.
Yeah, if you love Legally Blonde, then we're sorry, but Richard Simmons right now, this is what we need to focus on.
No, we'll touch back on Legally Blonde, because I do want to talk about that, because I do know, women who are friends of mine that like love this movie and adore this movie, and it's very interesting to watch, because like we grew up with kind of like action heroes and things like this, like the female representation in that regard has kind of been developing slowly, but This
you
is
have
one
like
of the
your Ripley and Sarah Connor. That's it.
yeah, before that it was only those two, but people, Alien always gets associated with the Alien, and Terminator gets associated with Arnold for Linda Connor. But this is definitely a female empowerment movie, and the opening song, "It's a Perfect Day," right? Like that's the perfect representation of that movie, of just like nothing's getting in my way, man.
Yeah, it's just like no matter what you're gonna do, like I said, fuck the haters. I got this.
Yeah, I think this, if I had to poll, women around our age, I would imagine this movie left a really strong impact on them, because as you said, like the studio even thought this was going to be a boner comedy. Like everything around that time was like a boner comedy. And then you have this like pretty funny, kind of a rom-com, not really. It starts out as a rom-com and then does its own thing. The movie really does its own thing, which I think is impressive. It follows like what you expect, but it's three separate acts, three kind of separate stories being told in those acts.
Yeah, each act has a different motivation completely.
Yeah. And like it's grounded in realism. Like the professor who signs her on at his law firm for this murder trial as the intern, at the end is like, "Oh, Elle, I was so impressed with you," and then puts his hand on her knee, and that's when she's gonna quit. And then she comes back and she becomes the representative for Brooke in the trial. But like that moment is like, that's serious, and that shit happens everywhere. It is not exclusive to like this movie. And like as I say, like this movie is so bubbly and bright and full of this energy, and then it's like that darkness, right? Like it's just such a sharp contrast.
Just very, very realistic, where it's just like, she has to question herself, and like that's where the third act, like, no, you got this. Where literally like she's just thinking like, did I only get this internship because this guy was interested in my looks? And that's a very, very real thing that a lot of people have to go through. Unfortunately, it sucks, but some guys are fucking creeps.
And I don't think movies like this that are like who are you going to target? You're going to target teenage girls with this movie, right? Like movies that were targeting teenage girls at that time did not have that kind of like moment in it. That it was the American Pie boner comedies, and if it had anything like that, it would end in a strip tease and a punchline and
very objectifying,
jizzing in a sock or whatever.
Fucking a pie.
Yeah, so something ridiculous like that. So I just it's a really strong movie, and it's a strong female character, and I can understand why her legacy has gone on. The character Elle Woods, like that character is still very much in the public conscious. We mentioned the sequel, like they're making a third movie to it because the character is just, she's powerful. And I would imagine a lot of girls around our age, in our mid to late 20s, would recognize her, identify with her, and use her as like a positive role model. And I think that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, entirely. It's just like, like I said earlier, it's just like this is a character you could want to watch a lot, and you could honestly see her in other situations and other cases and stuff like that. It's just so magnetic of a character and so charismatic, where you're just like you just want to be in the character's orbit.
Yeah, you want her in your circle, and you want her on your team because she'll help you out. And you see the character change too, when before she's Miss Popular, everything is in her world, and then she's the fish out of water. And there's a scene with the guy, with the weird guy who had this hair like sideways. He's like trying to hit on this girl when she's walking back in, and the girl's like, "Ugh, as if I would ever date a loser like you." And Reese walks over, slaps the guy in the face, and it's just like, "You gave me the best night of my life, and you never called me. I'm sorry for what? For both." And then like she storms out, and the girl's like, "Oh, okay, like give me your number," right? Like she would never have done that at the beginning of the movie, but she becomes more in touch with other people's emotions and what they need.
Well, the thing about the character is that, like, even in the beginning, though, she doesn't come off as like mega bitch or whatever, or like very mean and callous. I mean, she always throughout seems kind of very nice, but if anything, in the beginning of the movie, she's maybe just a little naive, which she kind of keeps throughout. But it's just like, that's, I think, her main growth of just like you're better than you think you are. That's essentially the message of the movie.
Well, we see her naivety transition into intuition and knowing when to trust somebody and when to not trust somebody. And I think that's kind of like a cool character moment that you don't always see in any movie, honestly, for naive people to kind of develop it into intuition. But on that note,
I am a star. I'm a star, I'm a star, I'm a star. I am a big, bright, shining star.
it's Reese Witherspoon. It's not even close.
Yeah, there's like no discussion about this. Reese Witherspoon the movie begins and ends with her. Without her, movie wouldn't work. We did stuff all those actresses before, and I couldn't see any of them in this role. So she clearly is the star. You couldn't. There's no argument.
It's her performance blows leaps and bounds. There's not even like a close second place. It's a complete blowout in terms of like stardom. And this is like her launch into her career. Like this is her like first like pivotal role, like when you look back on her career, this is the first one when you're like, okay, she's a A-lister, she's a leading woman, she can do anything in this town. And like I sit there and I say second place, and I'm like the dad drinking a martini at the graduation. That's my second place, man.
Yeah, no, it's to the point that apparently the sequel, the second one, is apparently like dog shit, and like the less said about the better apparently. But it says something that like the only characters that came back in the second one were her, and then Luke Wilson apparently briefly, and then Jennifer Coolidge. I do have to shout out Jennifer Coolidge out because she's always great. She's always a great character actress. It was awesome seeing her pop up in this. I didn't know she was in it.
It's interesting too with Jennifer Coolidge. She went from Stifler's mom in American Pie.
Speaking of American Pie, yeah.
Yeah, where she's super confident, super, sexy, like, defined the term MILF, brought it to the mainstream, and then going from that to being someone so like coddled and reserved. Like it's a testament to her range that you don't necessarily would think she might have as like a character actress, but she went from this confident babe to reserved, shy,
meek
character. It's really something to be said to Jennifer Coolidge. She's actually second place, but it's not even close. It's Reese Witherspoon's movie.
Are you ready, comedy partner? Waka waka.
Does this movie work as a Muppet adaptation? Because I think it might.
I think this might be the first movie, I was thinking about this earlier, that might work as a Muppet adaptation. What you have is Janice, the girl from the Dr. Teeth band, like the blonde Callie girl. You have her as Reese Witherspoon and just keep the rest of the movie the fucking same. I can see that working out fucking really well. It's like, yeah. Oh, yeah, fine, yeah.
Well, I mean, it's. I know that's a nice joke, Tommy, but it's Piggy as Elle Woods.
That too.
Miss Piggy's Elle Woods, and you could have Kermit be Luke Wilson, and you could have Fozzie be Warner. Like you could do a lot with it, and then just the only character you leave as a human in this movie is the dad drinking a martini. Everybody else is a Muppet. That's the only human in the movie.
And you don't explain why she's not human.
No, you don't explain it whatsoever. He is just the only human in it, and it's because he's at the end of the movie just applauding with a martini. That's it. That's the only.
Yeah, that's all you need.
That's all you need. So, out of 5, Tommy, what'd you think?
All right, so this is my first time seeing it. I just watched it only 3 hours ago at work. The end of the day, so whatever. I had a lot of free time, but it's one of those movies that's a very good background movie I could see in the future, where it's very light and breezy, goes from scene to scene. That really like dialogue heavy, and just the character of Reese Witherspoon so captivating, and just funny. But that being said, in general, the movie I don't think was as funny as it could have been. I felt like there could have been an extra level of laughs to go with it. So I'm gonna go 3.5 out of 5 stars. So I liked it. I thought it could have been a little bit funnier, but still a good movie. Still an enjoyable watch.
Yeah, this is a good movie, and I think it's unique fit where we put it in rom-com month, but it's not even really a rom-com. It's kind of its own thing. It's like a funny empowerment movie and a character-driven vehicle. I think the screenplay is pretty tight. I do agree with you that I think there could have been an extra level of humor that would have maybe elevated this into that tier of comedy movies that it's just below for, I think, a lot of people. I think this is a very targeted audience, and I think people who love this movie. You know what I mean?
It's one of those things. I think that if they played up the comedy in the second act a lot more, of her being the fish out of water type, it would have been funnier. And there's a lot more content for laughs. I felt like there could have been.
Yeah, for sure. But it's a tight screenplay. Reese is fantastic in it. It's an iconic performance in my opinion, and I give this movie a 3.5 out of 5 as well. It's a movie that I will never have a problem watching. It's a perfect date night movie. It's the perfect kind of movie to just take a load off at the end of the day, relax. You're gonna have a good time. You're gonna feel a little more motivated after you watch it, and not a lot of movies are able to do that. And the movie ends with her giving the graduation speech, right, Tommy? And she's like, and then the song starts playing again. It's a perfect day, nothing standing in my way. You know what that is, Tommy? It's like poetry. It's like poetry. It rhymes. That's what George Lucas said about the prequels, because he wanted to defend his lazy screenwriting. That's not the case in this. I just wanted to drop that line on you.
You just need to shit on either Ghostbusters or George Lucas in an episode. It's by law.
Oh, it's by law. It'll happen. Don't worry. But thank you all again very much for listening. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Subscribe on Apple, Spotify. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at SeenItPod. Leave us a 5-star review, and take care of yourself today. I'm Tim.
I'm Tommy.
And thanks so much for listening. We'll talk to you soon.